NVJ.
Hello out there, and welcome to episode 14 of season 4 of the Michael vs. Jason Horrorcast, where we love to bicker, argue, and debate all things horror, mainly one movie chosen at the end of each episode by the Devil's Wheel, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And this week we have a movie that, honestly, I don't really know what questions it answers. It's more toxic waste meets wilderness. I'm talking about 2008 Splinter. I'm more impressed that I actually won, and it's a me victory. So let's just jump right in. I'm your host, Mike, and Jason was so upset that I won, he didn't even show up to this week's podcast. So it's just Kirk and I. What's going on, Kirk?
What's going on, man? I think we should let Mike take his victory lap, and we should have let him do this one solo, just because he feels great. But I figured I'd fill in just a little bit to help him out.
You know what? I would have done this whole thing solo and acted like I was talking to myself.
What'd you think about this part? Oh, it was great.
It was great. I like this. Wait, what, Mike? What do you think about this one? No, I not such a fan.
That's a stupid movie.
I'm just happy that here we are coming up towards the end of April, and I literally just hit my second victory on the wheel.
But you did.
It happened.
It's one every. So you're pacing at 6 for the year.
I am, but I think
so. Right now, technically, you can't catch Jason. He has 7 already.
Is he at 7? I don't know.
He's at 7.
What are you at? You're at 4.
3.
All right.
Me and the devil are at 3. You're at 2.
At least I'm only 1 behind you.
Yeah.
I think
I'm pacing what?
We need to turn anti-Jason right now, and
yeah.
You're pacing
100%.
for 9 because 3 out of 4.
9, 8, 9. Yeah. Yeah.
The fact that
but I'm going to win today, so it's all
the
good.
fact that the devil has 1 spot on the wheel, and some months 2, like for the last 2 months, and is still kicking my ass.
Not kicking your ass. You've got 2 now.
Well,
you're 1 behind.
This is true. I'm still at 67%. There's a lot of math at the beginning of this episode that I'm not ready for. But yes, so this week we're diving into the year 2008 and a little movie called Splinter that I threw on the wheel. If you are first-time listener to the podcast, we are going to spoil the absolute shit out of it. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're about 16 years too late. But also, this is your fair warning to pause this, go watch it, come back, and then rate and review with us. So we will be getting to that shortly. We'll also be spinning the wheel to see how I can, I'm feeling good. Positivity in the atmosphere. How I'm going to double down.
Positivity.
How I'm going to double down today, but that's coming up. That's coming up in a little bit. But before we can get to any of that, how we always love to start our show.
It's Pardon of Terror time. So, all right, this month is a special month because we get 5 weeks in this month, 5 weekends, and we usually record on Sundays. So this week, we are bringing back an old segment of questions. So all 3 of us had questions. We kind of absorbed Jason's into me and Mike's questions. We're just going to throw them out there, debate it a little bit. We pre-know the questions, but we don't know what the other person's going to say. So see if you agree with us, see if you don't. And if you have questions for us that like to be answered on this type of thing, put it on our Facebook group. I'm sure Mike will talk more about that later, but let's get into the questions.
Let's do it.
So, Mike, I'll let you go first. You won. Like, I'm feeling very generous right now.
All right. So I will start with one of my questions then, because we each have, like you said, one of Jason's. So, when it comes to horror movies and award season, horror movies just never get the recognition that they deserve. My question to you, Kirk, is why? Why is that?
So my opinion on this is I think it has to do a lot with the formula / tropes. So it feels like every horror movie has those tropes or those formulas that they just fill in with characters. The the smart person, the dumb person, the fun. And it's just like, it's formulaic characters, and they're throwing a concept on top of that. Michael Myers, Masked Killer, Jason, Crystal Lake. You know what I mean? They're throwing a concept on top of the tropes.
Yeah, but I agree with that on the major
Surface.
movies. Like Terrifier 3 is not winning an Oscar. We understand
never.
that. But when you take a movie like, I don't know, and I'm just throwing this one out there because we mentioned a lot because it's a little bit different, but like in It Follows, right? It's not formulaic. It's different. It's kind of out there. It's a risk. The acting's great. The premise is fantastic. Not that I'm expecting that to win, you know, some kind of major award, but really horror only wins the Chainsaw Awards or the Dead Meat Award, right? Like it's a horror award for a horror.
You're 100% right. But that being said, It Follows should have won something. I mean, storytelling, something, screenplay. I don't know what but that was excellent movie. But The Exorcist won, The Shining won, Godzilla just won. Like, there's been horror that have won. So it's usually something a little bit out of the formula.
I don't really rank Godzilla up there as a horror movie. I mean, it is. But it's not.
It's a creature feature more than.
But when you name Exorcist, Shining, we're going back to the 70s and the 80s to even, you know, an early.
Well, the formula / tropes really started late 70s and 80s. So then it's like everybody just plays along.
Yeah, I listen. I agree with you. I think realistically, I think it has to be a drama to win nowadays. Because, you know, as I was writing this, I can't think of too many actions or comedies or, you know,
Not
anything
anymore.
that wins. It's a musical or a drama or something out there. But
Barbie.
give the horror genre some love.
The other thing I was thinking because I do remember when you sent me this question, the other thing I was kind of thinking too is I feel like horror is kind of the entry point, right? Actors get their starts. If you go through all the actors that started in horror, you've got a list of who's who, right? Leonardo DiCaprio started in horror.
Clooney.
Some of the directors are the same way. Some of the, you know, it's an entry point for a lot of these people to get into the film industry, and then they move past it as they gain their skills.
All right. Let's go to question number 2, Kirk. I'm going to hand it back to you.
Yeah. So my first question. So what is your opinion on the best iteration of a devil or a demon or something along them lines? The best iteration we've seen in movies.
So this was like a tough.
I want to see if we have the same
well,
one.
this is a tough one for me because I'm not. I had a hard time coming up with too many devil movies that I've honestly seen. Like when I think of devil, I think of Al Pacino, Devil's Advocate. That's kind of like something that comes to me. But it's been a while since I've seen it, and but I thought he did really well. But when we go demon, I mean, Evil Dead to me is like.
The Deadites.
The Deadites, they're goofy but scary and out there. Like something like that jumps out to me as I think a cool looking demon figure. Because you get into, is it possession? You know, is that a demon? Because even, you know, well,
Pazuzu. I would consider Pazuzu a demon. Right? You see the flashes,
and I think a lot of people would. And when you get into, because possession opens up a whole different world. I mean, do you have a devil that jumps out?
Dude, I have a number one, and it's a clear number one. I'm doing a little bit of a cheat on the movie. I'm not going to lie. It's a DC movie. It's not even a Blumhouse or something like that, but it's DC's kind of horror. They stepped into horror with Constantine. Do you remember Constantine?
Keanu Reeves, but
Keanu Reeves.
I've never seen it.
Oh my God, you got to watch that movie. It's so good. But Peter Stormare, do you know who that is? He's an actor. Well, since you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it too bad. He comes in late as the devil. If you look up the guy, he's been in a million things. I think he was in your favorite movie of all time, where they drill in the asteroid and Steven Tyler singing over it and Liv Tyler, whatever that meant. That's your favorite movie of all time, right?
I think it is actually one of my favorite. You're talking about Armageddon, and yes,
Armageddon. There it is. So I think he's in that movie, but his iteration of the devil is like number 1, 2, and 3 for me. He is excellent, and it's kind of DC's horror comic book.
You know, it's funny when you said DC, and I wasn't sure if this is where you're going to go, but I thought of Hellboy immediately. I don't know if he's the devil, but he's devilish. But
he's a demon or a devil or something like that.
I will tell you one movie just because we've talked about it a lot recently. But When Evil Lurks, talk about like a possession or demons.
That was a freaking. Great
that's a great movie that just jumps out to me. You know,
I'm kind of glad Jason's not on here because he doesn't like that movie, and I don't get what he's missing
because it's not not a slasher going me want kill everybody. You know what I mean? Like there's
yeah.
That's just how I assume they talk. I don't know.
I mean, kind of they are.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, I guess a little.
It's an intense movie, so
I guess a little.
All right, what's your number 2?
All right, well, I'm going to do a Jason question here.
Ooh, okay.
So
let's mix it up.
Terrifier 3, hopefully we all know, it just wrapped up in filming its third installment, coming out October 25th. What are you hoping to see from this third installment?
Yeah, so this movie, the first movie was kind of proof of concept, right? They threw it in a box, proof of concept of the character. Worked out, made a ton of money. Second movie was developing more of a world around art, right? And I think it worked again. A little confusing, except for the
sword,
the sword, and
sword
the coming back to life, and it added some character to the.
Yes.
This one, it's like how much further can you go with the gore, right? Like how much further? Like we've seen it with him, so I would like to see some world building around him, not necessarily exterior around him, a sword and a dad that was crazy and all the, the story feel. I didn't mind that. I didn't necessarily love it. It wouldn't have been the pathway I took, but I want to see I don't want to see him explained. You can't, Michael Myers, Art the Clown, you can't explain what is going on, but you want to start developing that world that he lives in.
Yeah, I agree to a point of what you're saying. I want to see what I came to see, which is the gore and the violence. But I agree with you that I want to see them make sense of what I think made no sense in part 2. But I don't want it to be the theme of the movie, which, this takes place at Christmas or whatever. I don't want this theme to be centered around a sword, some mythical sword or whatever. Right. What I like about the first one is it's a clown in a warehouse that is just stalking and mutilating people. And in part 2, take away whatever. That's what I like of it. And I will say the one main thing that I want to see is to not end this franchise, with this movie, which I don't think they will, but I want to see, I want to see that openness at the end.
Here's the one thing I will say. I think part 2 can get better if they do part 3 right.
Yeah, because you would look at it as a trilogy at that point. You go, okay, we got part of the story. We got the rest.
Tying all the things together, getting rid of some of the people that we don't want to get rid of, bringing in that trilogy of movies, and really kicking off a character. And this is really his 5th movie. This is actually the 5th. All Hallows Eve 1 and 2.
Well,
right?
All Hallows Eve. I thought he just did parts of it. So.
He was an anthology. Yeah.
So
this is Art. This is Art's 5th movie.
Yeah, in essence.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like less is more. I don't need to when Halloween started doing that the Thorn trilogy stuff. It got stupid. I think of like Dexter, my favorite show of all time. When they all of a sudden started like trying to bring up his childhood and he's in love with his sister. Like they made up just random stuff because they had nothing to do. It destroys everything before it versus helping it. So
that's when I started tuning out the Dexter. So 100% agree.
But I think we're in agreement there. What's your number 2?
Yeah. So my number 2, and this is kind of a personal question. What scares you in real life?
Well, anybody who listens to this podcast, things with a lot of legs scares me. I am deathly afraid of spiders in real life. I don't like centipedes. Spiders,
creepy.
Spiders over everything. And here's a weird one for you: mayonnaise. I don't know.
You fear it?
I was so grossed out by mayonnaise. Wow. It's like if there was like a mayonnaise spider, I would be I'd be dead to rights.
I don't even know what that means. I don't know. For me, I had a hard time with this because a lot of things kind of like make my stomach jump. But the thing that really just gets me, and it was in When Evil Lurks, it is anything that's happened to kids or targeting kids or affecting kids. Like,
it's hard to watch.
I don't know. I'm a dad now, like I have been for several years, but it feels like just the hairs on the back of my neck start like Black Phone, right? He went after that young kid, and it's just like, I just don't like that feeling, and that is so real that it starts getting my mind going in all the wrong places, and it freaks me out. Like every day, I'm like, you walk next to me when we're in Costco or whatever. You know what I mean? So that's my true fear of something happening.
Yeah, are you living in a horror movie? Unfortunately, it's a evil world. And, yes. Not to the same extent, but I'm sitting in a room right now, and I guarantee you there's a spider somewhere in this room. And I'm living in that fear that it is somewhere out there.
Don't go onto the pedophile website. That's all.
Well, I know they always say don't go and check like what's in your neighborhood. It'll creep you out. Yes. But you just got to know that to the left, to the left, to the right, like a dance song. It ain't pretty. So
it is that map is going to be glowing on you.
All right. So last question from my side of events here, but let's go back into horror movies here. And in your opinion, which horror movie or movies had the best overall cast? Some good ones. There's some good ones.
There's so many good ones. I mean, The Shining, it's a small cast, but it's excellently acted. Jack Nicholson, he leads the way. Excellent. There's so many. The Exorcist. I mean, a lot of these turn out to be great. I mean, the first Friday the 13th, I mean, you have Kevin Bacon chilling in there. There's just kind of to my point before, right? So many actors get their start in horror. So are we talking about established actors doing horror, or are we talking about actors that we go back and rewind? Because you can go back to Texas Chainsaw, was it 3 with Matthew McConaughey and
Renee
what's her face?
Well, yeah, Renee Zellweger was in that one.
That's two at that. Fast forward 10 years, that's two powerhouses, right? So
yeah, but I think there are ones that have better overall cast. So like the number one that jumps out to me immediately is The Thing, right?
That's excellent.
I mean, where that cast.
Got some diabetes.
front to back is amazing. Yes, I think of the original Scream. Looking back at that cast now.
See the Scream. All right, let's take the Scream for a second. Are they famous because of Scream? Did that launch their career, or are they established actors and then?
Well, so I mean, it's a fair question, but I think it is who. I think when you're standing in 2024 and you look at movies and say who has the best cast. It's not at that time. It's now looking
Courtney
back
Cox
on it now and saying, "Hey,
Arquette,
who,
Arquette.
Matt Lillard, Nev Campbell,
Yeah.
I can't think of the other killer's main name, but Henry Winkler's in that. Like you got,
it's true. He's like the principal, right? Yeah. The first time I kind of read through that,
Drew
question,
Barrymore,
Drew Barrymore she got killed early, but she was like the lone star at the time,
right?
That's why it was a big surprise. I don't know, when I first read that question, I was thinking like, I know it's not the way it was worded, but I was thinking like best acted movie.
Well,
so I started going into like the Shinings and the movies that I thought the people just crushed it. Even like your movie Spring, right? Those two, like they look like they're
amazing, connecting
off each other very, very well. That's a very well acted movie. But I mean, he's got a little bit of a career, but I've never really seen her in anything. So
well, she's
been in stuff, I know, but she's not.
Walking Dead was like she was on like a bunch of. See, other than that, I don't know anything else besides those. I will say Seven. When you think of Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey, cast. Like I mean,
the Devil's Advocate for that matter.
Devil's Advocate with Pacino.
You brought that up.
Lost Boys. Which I know you haven't seen,
loaded.
But Jason Patrick, the Coreys, Kiefer Sutherland, Diane Wiest. I mean, it is who's who in that movie.
Vampires with James Woods. That was pretty.
Yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires.
John Carpenter.
I still think I go back to. I think the best is probably The Thing. Yeah, it's still kind of just
little Wilford Brumley or whatever his name is.
Wilford Brimley. Diabetes.
Brimley.
Yes.
Diabetes. Yeah, don't get me wrong. That movie is, I mean, the thing, everybody talks about the practical effects, and it is well deserved to talk about that. But your point, the cast is loaded, and everybody is crushing it. Keith David.
They raised each other up. Sometimes you get a cast like that, a couple people fall off, but no, they
and nobody in that movie was over the top. Nobody in that movie was like spastic or like going. Everybody acted in character and was perfect. Yep. Yeah, 100%. All right, so my number 3, this is also a Jason one. We split these up for a reason. So, all right, Blumhouse, rumored, I got air quotes going on if you could see me, is bringing back or has a chance to bring back Friday the 13th. There's rumored to get it. What do you want to see take place in Friday the 13th to give it the success that like Halloween did in 2018?
The first thing is I just want to see it on the big screen again. I think that'd be good. I think to have the success, I mean, Halloween came out and they said this is a trilogy. There's going to be 3 of these movies. Right. And everybody wanted to see Halloween just like they want to see Friday the 13th. So I think that was huge. But I think if they came out with something with Friday the 13th and did the same thing, that we're making a trilogy. We're making a double feature here. So you're going to see part 1 comes out here, kind of like what they're doing with The Strangers. Or I think that's something I'd really like to see, but I also want to see what they did with like a Halloween where maybe they reimagine it just a little bit based off of maybe the first one or the second one and make it rated R. Like those are just key things for me. What are you thinking?
For me, like I think Jason is Friday the 13th and Jason is a very unique character. He's excellent at what he does, but you have expectations on what you're going to see every time you turn on a Friday the 13th. You want people in a campground that are not watching kids or having premarital sex, and he's murking them. That's what you want to see. Right. So the original movie, murking you like that. The original movie was great. I think it's one of the best ones. All I would do is switch out, instead of Pamela, I have Jason, and make that core movie again. I'm in line first thing, and then you grow it off of that. But to bring back the Friday the 13th people that love that, and then bring it to the new audience and give them what they want to see in a Friday the 13th. You're expecting POV shots with girls maybe losing a little bit too much clothes, some breathing behind a mask. Like this is the things you expect.
I want Camp Crystal Lake. I want that camp summer vibe feel. I want that's what
Fear Street started to do it with
the second one.
The second one, whichever
80 whatever it was.
84, I think.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I think I don't want any hate mail for it, but I think a Friday 13th is easier to make than a Halloween. And
100%.
I think just stick to the mold. And I don't even know if they have to make the first, like redo the first one. You could build it off of that first one like they did. I don't know if they'd want to do the exact same thing they just did with Halloween, but
no, I think Halloween is a movie that they keep trying to add depth to the characters, the town. They keep trying to evolve the story. And going back to the conversation we had about formulaic and why they're not, Friday the 13th is 100% formulaic, but it does it, I think, better than anyone else and can get away with it better than anyone. Mm-hmm. Freddy can't get away with it. Michael Myers nobody can get away with the formula like Friday the 13th can.
I don't disagree. You mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street. I want to see another one of them. I mean, like this, 'tis the season. Come on, Blumhouse, just buy everything. And
let's do it.
Just release them.
Give me some Rob Zombie Nightmare. That's what we keep saying.
Rob Zombie Friday 13th would be nuts.
I don't know if that would work. I just don't see that. I see who would do it? Like an Ari Aster. I think he could do it. He's kind of highbrow, but
no, Ari Aster.
He would get the aesthetics so creepy though. It'd be perfect.
I think we already talked about Terrifier, Damien Leone.
Damien Leone.
That is fun. The one. That is the guy that
I'm not going to argue with that because I think he would be so heavily involved in the movie. He'd probably do the FX. He's obsessive. I mean, we talked to him. He's obsessive about the characters on it. He's so obsessed with Art the Clown right now, he can't see straight.
The other person, Eli Roth, I think would crush it too.
Yeah, I'd probably be higher on Damian Leone than I would Eli, even though I love Roth. I think he does some great work. Let's just keep him with Thanksgiving and the things that he's trying to do. I just think he has his style, and I don't think his style necessarily fits, but it would be a change of pace. So it'd be interesting.
He can do slashers. He's already done Cabin Fever, but
Thanksgiving.
But and he loves practical effects. I mean, these are all things that. But yes, Damien would be my top pick, and he's actually asked for it publicly. So you never know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
We're all on board. We're supporting you, Damien.
We're here for you. But that's it for questions. So,
you know what I'm starting to hear in my headset here? I'm hearing the ticking of a clock. It's weird. Have you ever done this before? Do you even know what you're doing?
To be honest with you, I am so green at this now. This is going to go one of two ways, and I can tell you which way I think it's heading. So, but with that said, let's hit the main feature. Welcome back, and as previously discussed, I finally won. It's yeah, pew 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 pew. So yes, I chose Splinter from 2008. How amazing is that? So
it was something. So that means that we got 30 seconds on the clock. And when those 30 seconds start, they go by really, really fast. You'll find out. You'll remember. It's like riding a bike. You'll get back into it.
I don't know. It's been so long since I rode a bike that I don't know.
Well, ain't that true? But what I was going to say is the next words of your mouth, I'm hitting the start button. And you're on the front page, my friend.
All right, so we have a couple that's camping in the woods for their anniversary. Things go awry, and they decide that they have to go to a motel. On the way, they get robbed by a kind of like a couple by gun. They end up running over something that flattens a tire, and they end up at a gas station where all of a sudden they realize that people are dead. Something is out there that is after them. I don't know. They're barricaded inside. They, they find ways. Luckily, the one guy's a biology major and figures it out. I don't really know.
So is things go awry? Is that like chaos? Is that like you trying to outsmart us here?
Listen, I did not say anything about chaos ensuing. Things did go awry though, and
things definitely went awry. Didn't go as planned.
They did not. And to finish. The original couple escapes. Everybody else dies. That's about it. So I guess let's get in now. Jason normally would kick us off here, but Kirk, I think you're going to take us
behind the scream.
Yeah. So Splinter is a 2008 American horror film directed by Toby Wilkins. It was filmed near Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and had a limited theatrical release October 31st, 2008. The monster in the script was actually more generic, but he realized that he wanted something to be more parasitic as a creature. So they were kind of filming the movie and first going into the movie with kind of an unknown monster that they wanted parasitic. He liked the idea of The Thing. He liked the idea of those type of movies where it kind of takes over you. But he didn't want it to be a zombie. Wilkins, the director, used multiple performers to play the creature, including a gymnast, a mime, and a stunt person. Splinter won 6 awards at Screamfest Horror Film Festival. The box office made $510,000. IMDb gave this a 6.1, and there were 4 kills in the movie.
All right. Do you have any fun facts? Because I do not.
All right, 3 fun facts. So Shea Willingham, he was actually the first person to sign on to this movie, even before script was written or anything. He just wanted to be involved and met with Toby Wilkins and knew it was part of the movie that he wanted to be part of. I'm sure they talked script stuff, but nothing was written. Shea Willingham is the druggy boyfriend or husband, or I don't even know what he was.
Dennis, that's all I know.
Dennis, yeah, he's Dennis.
He's the criminal with the heart.
the criminal gets his arm chopped off. There you go. The film was shot in 20 days, so it's kind of centralized on a single location, so that helps. But 20 days to shoot this movie, which is really, really short. And then the third one here, obviously it was low budget, but what they did is they went around to local businesses to try to get them to donate different things to stock up the gas station. So everything in the gas station was donated by local businesses.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's probably all expired food. And
yeah, well, notice they weren't drinking, but it was funny. So the Cape Cod chips at the very beginning, you could see him like holding it outward with a label perfect. I was like, I think they were sponsored by Cape Cod.
I mean, it was probably like, hey, well, good for them. I don't know. Like, you want to make a movie, you got to get. Got
to find the financing.
You got to find the financing. Yeah. All right, well, let's get into rating this, but here at the MVJ Horrorcast, we do use a 1 to 10 rating system, with 1 being the worst you can do in category and 10 being a masterpiece there. We like to rate on 5 different acts, and let's just jump right into the first one, which is story beats. And Kirk, what does that mean? Yeah,
story beats is exactly what you think it is. It's going to be your story, your concept, all the 3 acts of the movie, anything that drives the plot forward, or any of those nitpicky little things that you're like, why did they do it that way? So it's anything that having to do with the story.
So I'll kick us off here as my movie with the story beats. Yes. So first off, this definitely, I mean, if I turned this on and I did not know when this was made, I would definitely say early 2000s. Like it has that vibe. I actually, once the story kind of gets going, I like the 4 walls feel of this movie. And there were a lot of movies like this in the early 2000s. You had Frozen was one, ATM.
Let it go. Let it go.
Not that Frozen. Oh. No, the ones there's Trapped on a Ski Lift. But they had these movies where it's kind of like you're in almost an impossible situation. Here's who you're with. What do you do? It's almost like an escape room vibe, you know, with the creature in this one, if you will. I actually enjoy the aspect of that.
Yeah, so it's a definite proof of concept type movie. Same thing going back to Art the Clown. If you look at Terrifier 1, you're trapped in 4 walls. He's hunting you down in these 4 walls. Obviously, you're out in this wilderness at this one gas station. It's a very simple story, which isn't an insult by any stretch of imagination. I don't mind simpler stories. All their motivations were sometimes a little bit overly on the nose, or like, these are bad people, these are good people. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit sometimes, but I love the concept. I love that. Like these needles or these splinters kind of weird. They're more like needles, or like a fungus or something, just kind of growing and controlling. I thought that was neat. I really, really like the concept. The acts, I thought, moved the story along. I thought they did a really good job. It just was a very simple.
Well, not to cut you off, but I did. But it's tension. They do a great job with tension in this movie. And you said at the beginning, and we'll get into it later with like the carnage. There's only 4 kills in this movie, and it's kind of like it's a little all over the place with that. But it's constantly building tension. I laugh because of all the people that this happens to. The guy just happens to be a biologist that's getting his PhD, and he like figures, everything out. And you always have the criminal with the heart of gold. Like, all the police want him, but he was going to give all his inheritance to, the person that he wronged over, of course. Because he's not really he's a bad person, but he's trying to do right. Like, let's just let bad people be bad people sometimes. Like you want to see them get their comeuppance, if you will, and die.
Which they seem to be doing that in Hollywood a lot lately. I mean, you even go watch the play Wicked. Wicked's trying to explain the Wicked Witch of the West, right?
Yeah,
the new Joker films.
Good person.
It's always trying to explain the why behind these, but. I mean, I like they did sequel bait the living hell out of this at the end, which, like I said, this is a proof of concept type movie. I did like the story. It held a lot of the same tropes and kind of formulaic storytelling, but I didn't mind it. It kept me on the edge of my seat, which check mark, right?
I wish there was a sequel to this movie.
There should be.
I mean, this is 2008. You know, we're coming up on 20 years here soon. I don't know if it's, you know, coming, obviously, but I liked it. You know, one of the most shocking things to this story was, or at least the screen was in 2008. Did you see how much the gas was? It was still $2.89. And I wrote that down. I go, for some reason I thought it was like $1.20 back then. But no, like it was still almost $3.
It's like $1.60 in 2003. I remember that, but you know,
well, it almost doubled by 2008.
Now it's like $4. So,
well, now we don't want to talk about it anymore. But no, I like I definitely liked the vibe and the feeling and just them trapped at a gas station. I think that can go awry if the story's not good. The story, the rest of everything, which we'll get to. But I think they did a really good job with it.
I think what they really did well, what they captured was concept and tension. And you said tension, but concept is good. And tension was very good. And those are the things they were trying to complete with the story. So they got what they were aiming for.
So I'll get into rating this here. So I gave it a 6 in this category. Like you said, it's a simple story. It's not like it's overwhelmingly hard or complex. You know, it starts kind of right off the bat. It almost feels like it almost it has that cold open, but really it goes then right into, you know, your couple, you know, I think the pace is very well with this, and I like how it ends. I like the third act. I think it does well. I should probably actually be higher here, but I do take away because it is a little simplistic, and there's a couple other things that we'll talk to as we go through that I think that they could have added, but I'm a 6 here. Where do you land?
Surprisingly, on your movie, I'm a little bit higher than you. So I'm a 7. So it is a simplistic story, but I don't mind simple when it comes to horror. You just have to target what you're trying to do and do it well. So the concept was this spiky things that infect your body and then control it like a parasitic type thing. Check. It was also to try to keep the tension high. Check, right? And have people survive a blocked in this case, a gas station. I mean, everything worked, right? So I had no real problem with it.
Well, it wasn't just a spiky. It looked like it was like a porcupine basically got mixed with toxic. Because even that sheriff, when she gets hit in the face, like quills come out at her. Yeah, it
the one time in the movie where it like shoots and then they don't go back.
Yeah, which confused me. But yes, so Jason did. Well, I'll just read his scores off last each time. But he was a 5 here. I have no context to it, but that's just where he is. So,
and I don't mind 5. Like, it's a simple story, like you said. It just if it rang true with you or not, you know. So
no, and listen, it doesn't matter whose movie it is, Kirk. Like you have movies that I love, and they're, you know, like
I'm still waiting for that one, but yes, I'm sure I do.
Well, I'm sure it's gonna happen though. Like it's gotta happen at some point.
It's like you winning on the wheel. It's gonna happen.
I mean, well, I wasn't sure until this week. So, all right, let's go into act number 2, which we like to call the arc, which is acting, relatability, and character development. How'd you feel about this act?
So I really liked, what was his name? Shea Willingham, who was Dennis. I thought he did a really good job. I think the good girlfriend did a really, really good job. I think the druggy girl was okay, but she had just this weird part to play, so she was irrelevant.
Well, they didn't give her much to like. I think she did what she was supposed to do.
The cop was irrelevant. The gas station clerk was irrelevant. So then it's just the one.
It's
guy,
a story
right?
of 3. Yeah, it's a story of 3.
It's basically 3 people. I did not like our curly headed biologist
Seth. Yeah,
Seth. If anyone could have died, it would have been him. I would have been happy. I was rooting on his death the entire time.
Well, neither of the couples fit to me.
No, they didn't. It was off.
Like
that dude outkicked his coverage. I'll just say it.
100%. That couple did not make sense, and even Shay, like he seemed like he was too even though he was like a criminal, he was too put together for her. But I do like. There were the role reversals that they do in this movie. And what I mean is, so
Shay was kind of the girl and the girlfriend was kind of the guy.
Yeah,
She was-
yeah. The girl,
they
yeah,
flip them.
the main girl, Polly, was kind of like the guy in this scenario, and her boyfriend was kind of the girl, kind of like quivering. But then they have a whole nother role reversal where when Seth finally his balls drop and he's like, "No, I got to do this." Now for Shay's character Dennis, like he's like, "No, I got this. You step back," and
Right.
then. Really, because how much of the movie is, there's a good 15, 20 minutes where Dennis and Polly are in the freezer, basically, while Seth is being the hero. And he's the one that comes up with we're going to do this for the radio, all this. Well, he was at that moment in time. He's risking his life for them.
He didn't get anything accomplished.
No, but he tried. Like he was still the smart one.
Yeah.
But I think they did. I think they did good with kind of the relatability of putting you in that situation of what would I do. I think the acting was great. Like you said, it's a 3 character, and I didn't like Seth, but I didn't think he was a bad actor in the movie. I think his character just annoyed the shit out of me.
And it's hard for me to kind of separate those two. Somebody that I don't like as a character on a movie and bad acting, because it just annoys me. And like you said, 3 people, 2 of the 3 people I really liked. I think I almost give away my score right there. Like,
well, I think we're going to be pretty close in score here. Yeah, the development they try to throw in development throughout when they make, like I said, when they make Dennis like the criminal with the heart of gold, type deal.
Well, that was
we still really don't know
story.
The main 2, like how that transpired. I
want to know how he pulled her first.
Well, right. Like, I mean, but I obviously there's no point to show that, but if you're going to have it be like that, I don't know. You just, you got to give me some context.
They go camping. He rips the tent. So they jump. Then they go find a hotel. They just were just shoving them into the movie. I don't mind it. It wasn't a bad start. And it just was people kind of working on Shay or Dennis and our girl should have been the 2 couple together. And then he should have been some diabolical like chemist or science that makes the drugs or something like
master. Yeah. He's, There's
better ways to use those people.
I agree. Well, what would you rate this?
Yeah. Like I said, 2 of the 3 people I really like. So I knocked him down because I don't think the 2 were perfect. So I give him a 6.
I'm exactly with you. I'm a 6 as well. Like I said,
slightly above average.
If the couples fit a little bit more, and I still think you have these people together for a long time, they could have changed it up just a little bit to give us a little bit more of themselves. Even though, like I said, the acting was great. So I'm a 6 as well. Jason does not complete the 6s. He was another 5 in this scenario.
Okay. That's better than I thought he would say, but yeah.
I would find it very hard giving this below average in this category.
If you get focused in on whatever his name is, if you get focused in on that character and he pulls it down enough for you, I could see it dropping.
Well, let's get into Act 3, which is visual appeal. What's that?
Yeah, so your visual appeal is everything you see on the screen. So that's your effects, your visuals, your cinematography, your gore, just all those things you want to award people stuff that Zack Snyder does very well. If you don't know who Zack Snyder is, you're probably better off because his stories suck. But his visuals are amazing in everything he does. So visual appeal. I'll go on this one. I think you won on the last 2, right? So
I don't know.
I thought everything looked pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the needles looked really cool when it was stationary. The shaky cam drove me fucking up the wall, and there's no other way I can say that.
I said that too. I did the choppiness. Like they couldn't spend a lot of budget probably on the monster, so they had to make it every time it's in scene, it's choppy. And I was like, oh, stop. But
I have one other complaint outside of the shaky cam. But I thought outside of my one other complaint, I'll get to in a second, and the shaky cam, I thought everything looked pretty good, pretty spot on, pretty like removed from society, and you could feel that they're out camping or whatever in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of in the backwoods, but not making fun of the backwoods. It's just simple. And
no,
it worked.
And before you jump into the next thing you didn't like, the feel of this, I feel that I am in Louisiana
Right.
gas station
Deep
at all
Texas.
times. The feel of this movie is exactly what they're going for. You see him sweating, I feel hot. Like I know that feeling of
Yes.
like it's just
That grimy humidity.
Humidity. Yeah, I was looking for the word humid. It was humid outside.
Yes.
I felt it.
For sure. And the other thing I didn't like that really kind of bugged me the wrong way is, and the only way I can kind of connect this with something else, I called it the Army of Darkness hand. So the little hand thing that like chasing them around inside of our gas station just looked like something from Army of Darkness or Evil Dead, or it just looked really silly.
Yes, it definitely does. But you said what were the director's, things that he was going for? The Thing.
Tension.
And
Thing.
This is kind of like a page out of the Thing's book. I thought of, Addams Family when I saw this half a hand, but I still think the hand looked good. And to be honest with you, I think everything about this movie, there's only 2 CGI scenes that, like, the one we already talked about with the little shooting of the spikes, you could tell that was CGI real quick. And then when the body got torn apart, there was a second CGI, where it was like definitely CGI. But outside of that, everything else, if it wasn't practical, you couldn't tell me. And I think so much, like, the blood looks good. Even when it's like turning black, the head bashing against the
bubbles and all that.
The door and the blood.
That was more audio though. The bashing, you more heard it, and you
but no. You saw that they did a close up of the face getting smashed up against, and it was like now disformed. Even
one thing,
the monster looked good to what they showed.
I have no idea what the monster looked.
They showed enough of it. They gave you made your mind create the rest of it.
My brain could not speed up to that speed. I did not see it. But one thing I did like, and it was on the screen very quickly, was when it pulled the body back together or showed the 2 bodies together or whatever heck it was trying to show us. Mm-hmm. That looked kind of cool. The intestines reached out to the lower half and pulled the legs back up. I think it was 2 different people, but it kind of put the person back together to make this monster. But it just, everything, anytime the monster was in, it just shaky cam so bad. And it's like, I have no idea who's winning and who's dead.
Yeah. The only other scene that I would point out is when the arm is going through the window.
That little cashier window.
The cashier window. And like, it's trying to like get in. You can see the flesh starting to like lip up. I thought that was such a cool little small thing, and then it breaks off and plops down. I thought it was fantastic.
But then they stare at this little hand, which we find out later then can shoot spikes, but it never shoots spikes again. It's just the inconsistency on that, because I kept going like, you need to put something over that, like put the charcoal back on the hand so it doesn't go running off. Like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, I was a bit confused there too. But let's getting into rating the visual appeal. So I'll let Jason start on this one. He gave it a 7 on the visual appeal, and I'm right there with him. I gave it a 7 as well. I subtract for the choppiness. Outside of that, I think everything is really good about this movie, and this isn't a $20 million budget. I mean, I think
budget, but they all hold true against each other. We don't hurt one because it makes more money, right?
No, but I think what they did with what they had, that explains at least. I bet you with the choppiness of it, but I still got to take away because it just
bummed for sure. The budget is 100% exactly why there was shaky cam. They knew that their creature they built and they didn't have money to do more for didn't look great. So what do? You jump cuts, you use shaky cam, you hide it in ways. So I'll give them that. That was smart. But the shaky cam ruined a ton of this movie for me. It really, really hurt the movie. I was way lower than you guys. I was a 4. I said it was below average. The visual appeal of the surrounding area was done right, but there was nothing that was like, wow about it. Like, wow, that looks great. So it couldn't push me above. And that shaky cam just dominated my thought processes after the movie. There
should be a seizure warning before the movie,
100%.
Because it's almost as annoying as a flashing light 24/7.
Which is too bad. Like I feel like this movie needs a sequel. It just needs more money. It could have been great,
or a remake. or
100%
reimagining.
remake. Yes,
I would love to see
absolutely.
it.
And I'm not usually for that.
So our fourth act that we always like to do is a good old sound design. And sound design could be the sound effects, the audio dubbing, the score, the soundtrack. There's a lot of stuff that goes into sound design. And I'll say this, I don't think there's a soundtrack or a score or anything to this movie. I mean, there's slight music every once in a while, but if you asked me, if you played it right now, 3 different ones and said 2 of these were in the movie, 1 of these is not, I would have no clue because I don't really remember music in this movie at all.
So there's not music, but there are sounds and there are creaks and there are sounds that escalate, that bring the tension. And I think they were going for tension, and I think they accomplished tension even with their sound design. You're 100% right. We don't hear, John Carpenter's, Halloween score playing in the background. It's memorable and you remember it. So it's not going to be.
That'd be a little weird if the Halloween score was playing.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have a Splinter score that you're going to be memorable and you can attach that to the next movie they ever make. But that being said, I think they use sound and music, and I think they used it to kind of make up for some of that shaky cam, because during those times, like, it kind of, if you plug your ears, the movie looks really bad when it's shaky cam. If you unplug your ears, the sounds and the designs of the music and the effect and the mixing, all that stuff really kind of brings the tension. So you start to feel those scenes more than you're seeing.
Well, I do agree. Like, I thought the audio effects, and you mentioned in the last one as well, of hearing the arm or whatever, but there's a scene when they snap, when his arm snaps, when he's in the freezer. I felt every part of that through my bit. Like, I mean, and that was all sound. That was all sound. And even like when the fingers were like mangling around a little bit, they had like this little sound, but it was perfect. And
I'll tell you this right now.
Like that were great.
You're bringing up a great point. I kind of typed that out, but it's later in my notes. That helped. Those sounds, I guarantee you plug your ears and watch that arm breaking. It looks like a rubber arm. It looks terrible. But you add in those sound effects and it works. And you speed it up and slow it down just a little bit and it works.
And you cringe. It just makes you, it does make you like look through like your fingers for a second, even though, because it's just, but once again, it's the sound. It's I thought that was great. The
sound design made up for a lot of the visual appeal hurt for me. And I think that helped at times. Other than making the Army of Darkness hand go, that would have been bad. But, they didn't do that. They kept the tension high with the sound effects, which I appreciate. There is no real score, though. Even
when the spikes are kind of growing a little bit, it had this little, like, crackle noise. Yeah. They did, whoever did this, it was
like quills, like shaking.
Yeah. It was just good.
It was good. It was very good.
Really good. What would I guess anything else you want to talk about in sound design?
No, because most when I talk about sound design, I'm going into the score and how it made me think, and all that stuff. And just there is no real score in this. I'm sure there is, and correct me in the comments if there is, but nothing that's memorable. Like, I can't go back and tell you what it was. It was generic sound A. You know what I mean? That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. So what do you give the score here?
Yeah, so a lot of what hurt the visual appeal was improved. Like, I don't think that if the sound design was as good as it was, the visual appeal for me even gets a worse score. So the cracking of the bones, the quill shaking. So it didn't have a score, though, which I have to deduct for that. So that took it down to a 6 for me.
So I'm a 6 right there with you. And yeah, it's a 6 because of the effects.
Oh, yeah.
And it loses everything else, right? But the effects were so good and so powerful in this movie that, that's where. And Jason gave it a 6 as well. So 6 is all around.
We're back.
We're back. Which takes us to our last act of the evening. Good old Carnage. Kirk, what's Carnage?
So Carnage, outside being a Spider-Man villain, is your kills, your mayhem, your fun, just the craziness that comes with a horror movie. It's our ball of wax that is everything that we love about horror is your Carnage.
Yeah, I think this whole movie is tension and mayhem. Honestly, yeah. I think that's
very little setup. You throw everybody together and you're going.
There's not. I think to me this movie is fun. Because it's one of those ones, you kind of said it earlier, that you're just intrigued. Like, what are they gonna do? What's the outcome? I hope this person dies, or like, how is this gonna get, but the mayhem, even though there's not a lot of kills and death in this movie,
4 total. Yep, 4 total.
They still find ways of like arms chopping off and breaking off and this and that to make it the head banging against the door.
It's a painful movie.
Yeah, that just that gives you enough that takes you to the next scene. I did enjoy that part of the movie.
There should have been 5 kills. I'll say that. Seth should have gone. Without a doubt, he needed to be taken out. But that being said, I mean, from the go. So, all right. So you got your intro scene where the gas station attendant gets attacked by a squirrel or something. You never really see it. You see him later in the men's bathroom, all mangled out, whatever. But then you get into these couples, and very, very early on, they get one's holding the other one hostage, but they get a flat tire. They ran over the original squirrel or whatever the heck it was. We have no idea. But our main guy, Shay, who is Dennis, gets a quill in his finger, and he pulls it out, and everybody that's watching this movie knows we've watched enough horror movies. We knew exactly what that meant with that quill, that little prick in his finger. And we knew from the rest of the movie, that's going to be a problem later on. You need to chop off that like the whole movie. I'm going, he needs to chop off that finger. Oh, he needs to chop off that hand. Oh, and then
you know it's coming. You know it's coming.
That's the tension building I was talking about. There isn't a lot of kills in it. The kills were okay, kind of quickly done. The druggy girl, like it said, she just got chewed up. I'm like, I felt like they just kind of bumped into each other.
But we didn't see any of it. You just see the aftermath of it.
Right. You see the aftermath of it. But what they did cool in that part is the gas station attendant was over top of the car and she was laying next to it. Their arms were just looking for people because it's that parasite trying to drive their body towards the heat of the couples that were left. All this was fun. It was a lot of mayhem. Wasn't a lot of kill, but it was a very painful movie. The slow breaking of his hands or arm. I thought that stuff was really fun, really good.
I do have a question, and this is more story, but just while we're talking about it in the Carnage section, their original idea was to start a fire, and then they decide that it's heat. They're drawing the heat.
And then they didn't start a fire.
Why wouldn't they have just started? Instead, they're like, let's get the body temperature down to 92 degrees and almost kill ourselves. Versus, no, let's literally go start that fucking fire now, and it's going to run over there. Like, wouldn't it just run into the fire? It's a parasite. It doesn't know any better. It doesn't.
They also had fireworks. They had fireworks. They had a lighter, and they had lighter fluid. They had charcoal, so you could throw in a whole bunch. They had a grated window. They could have easily put a bunch of charcoal in the back, threw lighter fluid on it, throw a firecracker on it, get a huge fire going on it. Like when the monster was like staring at the firework, they could have been spraying it with lighter fluid.
And just lit it on fire. But like literally, they could have lit anything on fire. Yep. The other thing is, for how this thing spreads, shouldn't it have just like shouldn't every animal in the wilderness be part of this at this point in time?
This should have been a much worse problem.
Because I thought at the end it would have been cool if like the forest just empties out and it's just.
I thought it'd been cooler at the end. It just shows you the forest and you hear the quills, but you hear it coming from like multiple angles.
Well, I don't mind how they ended though, with just like you see the dead animal and all of a sudden it's like that weird whatever noise. But yeah,
this was a sequel bait movie. This was a proof of concept. And
they did not take the bait.
They did not take the bait, which is surprising. It won awards. I mean, I know it didn't make a lot of money, but I guarantee it didn't cost a lot of money. But I don't think they thought it was going to. They didn't really release it anywhere.
I don't even think in this day and age that this is a movie that you need to spend $10 million on. I think you could remake this movie for $3 million and make it look amazing.
Simple locations.
You don't need name actors. You could have just I don't know. I think you could do a lot with this, but. All right, so getting down to Carnage, we'll start with Jason here. Jason gave Carnage a 7. Are you equal, lower, or higher?
I'm right there with him, 7. This and Story were my 2 highest scores. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely some flaws in the movie. But that being said, it was good. It was a good time.
So I also gave it a 7 here. I think it's a very fair score. I think we should all go to a casino and
roll some sevens
and play this. But all right, so those are our scores, and as I tally these up, we have the opportunity to give it 10 or take away 10 up to bonus points. I can tell you I'm not giving any bonus points, but Kirk,
I'm still waiting for the time you do. It's a very simple movie, so there's nothing, and I have no nostalgia to it or history with this movie. It was my first time seeing it. So there's not a lot to award when and I think I scored it pretty fairly.
So, all right, well, let's, and Kirk, I'll give bonus where it's allowed, but it's got to be something to me that is outside of the 5 categories. And I think we've done a really good job with our 5 categories, that it's got to be something, or it's got to be one of the categories is so over the top. Like I need to give it the take it away in one of those areas. But anyway, we'll start with the lowest score, which you and Jason are both tied.
We're tied.
You guys gave it a 30 out of 50, which in our system equals a 6.0. Which I believe you said IMDb was a 6.1. So I think you're just right in line with that. I was a 32 out of 50. So not much further. I'm a 6.4.
Right there.
And really there's one category that kind of held you back from pretty much being in line with me versus Jason. But no, I think this is a movie that I definitely recommend to people. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I know the first time I watched it, I enjoyed it, and watching it again, I enjoyed it. It's a fun movie.
Here's the thing: if you like tension, this works. If you don't like shaky cam, this doesn't work. If a single character can hurt your time watching a movie, this is a tough movie to watch. But if you can kind of ignore one person and enjoy for what it is, this is a pretty good movie.
Yeah, if the Blair Witch gave you headaches, you know what I mean? It's not to that effect. The Blair Witch was the entire movie, but this is whenever the monster is in there, think of like running in Blair Witch. Like that's kind of what's happening. And but it's still, I think it's a good movie.
Yeah. I even asked my wife because she watched it with me. She's like, make sure you tell him I like this one.
Oh, yes. See, that's all the validation that I really need right there. And the wife said she's going to start watching movies with me because I threw it in her face that, some other significant others do sit down.
She likes watching the horror movies with me, so it's a good time. I just can't watch the stuff where they go after kids or like the Exorcist type movies. She won't watch those.
Yes, my wife will not let me put on anything like possession wise. She fears that I will bring spirits into the house. So do with that what you will. But all right. Well, that's Splinter from 2008. So I'm glad we could get back into the 2000s here. I got us out of the gutter. But I did not get us out of the toxic.
Well, we don't know if it was toxic. It could have been alien.
Well, no, there's a scene where they showed a toxic waste sign, area closed for toxic something.
That was probably
I'm just assuming that that's what it was. Yeah, it was towards the beginning. But all right, it's now time to look to next week and see what we'll be reviewing next as we take a ride on the
Devil's Wheel.
So for our Devil's Wheel portion of events, what we like to do is we put 11 slots on a wheel. We spin it, whatever it lands on. That is the movie we review the next week. Very simple concept. But to break down how we get the 11 slots, first, each one of us gets 3 slots on the wheel. 2 could be whatever. 1 has to be a movie that the individual has never seen before. Then we have 1 special slot for the Devil's Wheel, where if it lands on that, we go to a random movie generator that tells us what we have to watch. And then starting this year, we have kind of, if you win the month before, you get a bonus slot for the month.
This is a big week
on the wheel, which we are, Jason, Kirk, and I are each tied at 1, which I'm just happy that
The Devil doesn't have any, right?
No, Devil does not have any this month. If the Devil wins today, that does mean next week will decide. So I don't know. We're gonna find out here, but I'll go first because I was the only one obligated to make a change on the wheel, and I made a couple changes. So, Elliot, still riding with you. We got Taking of Deborah Logan from 2014. We're going to ride or die with that for a little while.
It's like an ongoing joke with Elliot.
I feel really bad. Sorry, Elliot. I'm changing my other two though. So I'm adding back on PG Psycho Gorman because I really do want to watch this movie. And I can't remember it now.
Jason really doesn't want to see
and
this
I think
movie.
that's part of why I really want to watch it. I know you want to see it anyway. So
I haven't seen it, so I'm looking forward to it.
And then the movie I've never seen, I want to give myself a chance here. A lot of buzz around this movie. Just added the Shudder. Late Night with the Devil. I know we're all excited to watch that. So
the 2024 movie, right?
Well, 2023 technically.
Oh, it was last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and Psycho Gorman's 2020. I should have said that too.
Yep.
We'll go to Jason next, who's keeping his the same. So we have Reanimator from, I think it's like 84. We have Graduation Day from 80-something. And
and something else from 80-something.
Something else from 80. What is his other one? I can't remember what his other... Oh, Hell Night. Hell Night from 81. Maybe
there
that.
You go.
So he's got a night, a graduation day, and reanimating stuff. What are your three?
Yeah, so mine haven't changed. So I'm going Evil Dead 2013. I got The Ritual from 2017, and the movie that I haven't seen is The Empty Man from 2020.
All right, so all that's left to do is spin the wheel, and it is spinning. Where it stops, no one knows. Will I win again? I do not know.
I mean, you should know by now.
All right. So, it is okay. It is going to be
Evil
Dead
Dead 2013
from 2013. So Kirk is back in the winner's circle, and he takes a very important 2-1 lead going into the final week. So you're
that
in the
gets me to
driver's
4, so now I'm pacing to 12 for the year.
I'm still pacing for 6. So I really had high hopes that I was going to, maybe double down, but apparently that's just not in the cards for me ever.
Here, I'll say this about Evil Dead. If we've all seen this movie, I assume, I haven't watched it in quite a while. If you don't like podcasts where everybody agrees and is everybody pumped about a movie, probably don't watch next week's.
That's actually probably a very fair statement here.
We'll
Jane Levy action in this, though, which I'm a huge fan of. But so we will reconvene, same bat time, same bat channel, and dive into 2013 for a little Evil Dead reimagining, I guess, if you will. I
guess it's just a different time period. I don't know if they've decided
I don't
yet.
know.
Like,
I
think
don't know.
Rise is a different period. Evil Dead 13 is a different, and then the Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell's a whole. I think it's 3 different books.
In Evil Dead Rise, they say there's multiple books, but I know they're always trying to make a movie of like maybe bringing back all the main, like Bruce Campbell is one, the female lead is one, and then the girl from the newer one. So there's hopefully one day maybe we get that, but.
It's gonna be a TV series.
Let's not
Ash again versus Evil Dead.
I didn't mind the TV series, but it definitely
was bad, but I liked it. It was bad.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Yes. Well, that does it for episode 160. I can't believe it's been 160 episodes, but if you've been rocking with us for all 160, or maybe it's just 1 or 2, we greatly appreciate you. And if you have Apple Podcasts, please go in there, give us 5 stars and leave a review. If not, don't do it. But there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with us. You can do it from Instagram at MVJ Horrorcast. We have our MVJ Horror Facebook group, which is the easiest way which we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. So if you're one of those, we also greatly appreciate you. And also, we're over 1,000 on the YouTube MVJ Horror page.
1,400.
So almost 1,400. Yes. So let's get our Facebook group up with that as much as our YouTube page. We greatly appreciate that. And next week coming up for our Part in the Tear, it's the end of the month. So we will be taking a look back and reviewing anything that or basically just talking about, I guess not reviewing anything, but we'll be reviewing Evil Dead. But we'll be talking about movies we might have caught in April. So yeah, that's next week. It's very weird when I choose a 2008 movie and I don't win, and we go into the future of a movie.
Very rare. But the thing is, all my movies are future of that. 2013, 17, and 20. This is my oldest movie I have on the wheel right now.
I mean, listen, I'm very impressed. And I guess, maybe this is just a continuation that if the Splinters keep going, maybe it turns into, an Evil Dead, situation.
Talk about demonic possession movies that we like.
Yes. It all comes back. So, listen, whatever you do, don't go into a cabin, this week and just listen to us talk about one.